The year is 2005. It's Friday night, you've just finished your shift, and you open up your flip phone to a text from your guildmate. "Wanna tank Strath?" Little did you know, this was the best that life was ever going to get. The MMORPG was once a genre that was thriving. To enter an always persistent online virtual world filled with millions of other like-minded adventurers was a concept as mind-blowing as it was exciting, and today people are left with fond memories that are built to last a lifetime. However, as time has passed, it's become more and more apparent that their unique appeal has dwindled, and many lament that the magic that had once captivated them has faded, but they never seem to extrapolate why. Well, probably because they're just looking to vent and they don't want to fully commit, lest they come off as a no-life nerd. But luckily for you, that is something I have no problem with. So, what exactly is the magic? Well, in the context of the MMORPG, it's a combination of things. It's what you felt the first time that she stepped into this unknown world, and that's the word of the day here. The systems are unknown, the characters, the quests, abilities, spells. The magic is the feeling of wonder and mystery that you get from a world of discovery filled with other people to discover it with. You see, MMOs are a lot like fluid exchange. Everyone remembers their first time, you're level 1, you don't really know what you're doing, and you're also paying for it. It's that moment in the Ocarina of Time when you first enter Hyrule Field, or Final Fantasy VII when you exit Midgar, or you leave your house to refill on Hot Pockets. It's the adventure and even the intimidation that comes from the unknown. And as soon as you lose that, you lose the magic because the unknown disguises the treadmill. And to understand this, we must first examine how games function on a fundamental level. So, why do games exist? They don't serve any purpose that's critical to our survival. They were created as mediums from which to draw entertainment. Every game ever made is constructed to reward you for outperforming or outwitting an opponent, whether they be a robot or a person. In chess, the problem is capturing the enemy king without losing yours, and the solution is to outwit your opponent by busting out that queen on turn 2, yo. What? In XCOM, you have to make a 99% shot to kill an alien, and then you break your keyboard over your knee when you of course miss.
I quit. I quit! I quit!
And in life, the problem is to not starve to death, and the solution is to work, making a large amount of money for someone else and a fraction for yourself until you die. And as for the MMORPG, much like life itself, you are handed many problems. If you are level 1, you must reach level 2 by killing enemies and completing quests. If you don't have enough money to buy things, you must extract it from the world by killing enemies and completing quests, or by completely skipping the entire point of the game to begin with by purchasing currency. To advance to the next PvP rank, you must kill other players in-game. To unlock this vendor, you must farm reputation, and to upgrade your questing gear, you must clear dungeons, and to upgrade your dungeon gear, you must find 20 other people with nothing better to do, and sit down with them for 4 hours a day so you can raid. The MMO is a special case though, because there's some complexities and variables at play. First is their multiplayer, meaning that user experience is wildly variable. Two people who pick the same race and the same class will have two extremely different experiences. And as for number 2, they are of course long form. This isn't a Zelda game where you just pick up the controller and you have a relatively predetermined amount of time before you hit the credit screen. Content, character progression, and ways to pay real money for character progression is constantly added in order to extend or even erase the finish line entirely. And not only that, but even the direction and quality of the content changes as the people developing them and those playing them change. But even though they are perhaps the most complex genre of game, they can all be broken down into the following. Whether it be PvP, raiding, currency accumulation, collections, or even things such as social status, the goal is to extract advancement from an online world where each day, no matter how minuscule it may be, the player is able to progress in some way. And the method for delivering this progression is known as the carrot and treadmill system, where the rewards are represented by the carrot and the method of obtaining them by the treadmill. And it's the very tough job of the developer to create both the rewards and also the obstacles that the players must traverse through or around to obtain them. And while a skilled developer will be able to create a treadmill that's fun and rewarding, an exceptional one will be able to disguise it such that the player is completely unaware of what lies beneath their own feet. Or, alternatively, you can just sell the player the carrot. So, for everyone's first MMO, not only are they unfamiliar with this design, they aren't even aware of its existence. They barely even know how to play, let alone the mechanisms running behind the scenes that drives them to play. It's the goal and desire of the developer to manipulate their game such that when the players look at it, they don't see a treadmill. They see a fun and exciting adventure, because that is the feeling of wonder and mystery that everyone remembers from their first MMO, and that is what is associated with what is colloquially known as the magic, where new things are learned and skills are honed with each passing day. That is how most every MMO is designed. It's likely that's how they'll always be designed, at least in some way, but it holds one fatal flaw. When the appeal is derived from the unknown, it means that it's also fleeting. In fact, it degrades at a rate inversely proportional to how effective it is. The more fun you have, the more you play, and the more you research how to play or what you're going to be playing before it even releases on websites such as YouTube or Twitch, for instance. And so the player base is continuously drawing from this amalgamative pool of the unknown. It is a resource that is expended faster than it could possibly ever be replenished, because it functions similarly to everyone's favorite thing after MMOs. Drugs.
This is your brain. This
It's World of Warcraft.
is what happens to your brain.
After playing World of Warcraft.
This is what your family goes through. And your friends and your money. And your job. And respect. Any questions?
World of Warcraft. Try it for free at warcraft.com.
Yeah, it's that good shit. A good old dopamine orgy. But, like with any drug, you build up a resistance to it, and to obtain the same high, you must incrementally increase consumption. Over time, achieving the same level of satisfaction requires a greater and greater level of commitment.
Get the mascot involved, that's right. The guy in the bear outfit. I'm so desensitized. It's gotta be just completely bananas to get me all.
And developers have it tough, to say the least. Capturing the magic in the late 90s and early 2000s was a far simpler feat for a variety of reasons. Today, when you say MMORPG, anyone even remotely familiar with games knows exactly what they are. You can safely shut down your MySpace, because this isn't 2004 anymore. The genre has sort of been done, even more so than your mom. And it hasn't just been done, much like your mom, it's been redone and watered down and re-watered down 1,000 times over. And the player now knows more, both as a whole and as an individual. And just as how this has progressed slowly over time internally by experiencing them, so too has it externally, as the world around them has also, of course, evolved. Yeah, you know that other MMO known as Life, where you get one character, PvP is always enabled.
I'll get you, bitch!
If you die once, that's it. and you have to keep doing this preventative maintenance on your food and drink bars. It's a little too hardcore for me. But as far as knowledge is concerned, social media in the late 90s and early 2000s was different than it is today, I suppose. Pictures loaded like this. eBaum's World was the most popular video sharing website, and thought was a word associated with a database website. And as for YouTube, it didn't exist. We now live in an age with data mining and streamers and YouTubers doing their blow up doll thing at some amazing, oh my god, piece of news that you just have to see because this is so insane. Oh my gosh. The purpose of alphas and betas have shifted away from testing to advertising vehicles. And no matter how complex or intricate the systems are, no matter how many months or years they take to design, they are solved before they even release. Something that MMO developers have learned over the years is that the player must be protected from themselves. To create a treadmill that doles out rewards in a fun and healthy manner is a delicate procedure, as in a way, the player will fight against it. The treadmill must be as entertaining as the carrot is valuable, as a large discrepancy between the two will not stop them in their pursuit and sabotaging their own satisfaction in the process. If it is more efficient to tumble down a flight of stairs to obtain the carrot, that's what they'll do. They'll cast aside their own enjoyment of what is supposed to be a fun journey in exchange for this hypnotizing carrot, and going through any means necessary, even spoiling the actual experience in the process by doing horrible, unfun shit. And what's more, even if you, the individual, consciously avoid this, you're still affected by it because it's, of course, multiplayer. Knowledge is power. And not just in the world of video games. And luckily, engorging your brain with infinite knowledge is not only easy, but free with Brilliant, the premier way to learn math, data science, and computer science. Brilliant is an online tool that makes learning fun, interesting, and exciting, with thousands of lessons to accommodate people of all backgrounds. From beginner to advanced, your lessons are customized to suit your specific needs and tailored to fit at your own pace. And the reason why it's my favorite learning tool on the Citadel is because it's gamified. Each lesson you complete gives you experience points, there's a leveling system, and even leagues that you can compete in if you're like me and you're competitive, like the time I got rank 14 in the recreation of a 15-year-old video game. You know, just in case you forgot. But it actually makes it really fun and RPG-like, and it makes you feel like you make progress every day. You can take it on the go, on your phone or tablet if you want, and lessons can be as short as a few minutes, so it's not something that you really have to set time aside for in case your dungeon queue pops or something. You can get started today. The first 30 days are free, so there's not this huge commitment, and the first 200 people to use my promo URL at brilliant.org/MadSeasonShow get 20% off the annual plan. But knowledge in all forms is power. The availability of information creates a compulsion to obtain it. A player who knows the optimal rotation of their class, the strategy to kill a boss, or the best way of farming currency, or the best strategy in PvP will vastly outperform a player who doesn't. They will get more opportunities, they will progress faster, and even putting that aside, the entire genre today is designed assuming that players are obtaining all of this information not from the game, but from third-party websites. I mean, it's to the point where you have World of Warcraft GMs just telling you to look it up on Wowhead. The person who blinds themselves to information and optimization for the sake of desperately trying to recapture the magic that attracted them to begin with is ostracized by their guild as dead weight, lazy, they will always be behind, and they will always have to have a bit of slack picked up for them. So, whether it be forums, streams, YouTube, Discord, information is as available as it's ever been, and combined with the fact that it's human nature to play games as efficiently as possible, what used to be an ocean of the undiscovered is now a puddle that's desperately lorded over by a player base with a full belly and a question in their head asking, where's the magic gone? And that's not even getting to the worst part, and that's the fact that it is not going to change. The MMO is also on the decline because it's a genre that encourages iteration over innovation. But before you paint a target on the back of modern MMO developers, the true source can be traced back to the year 2004 with the release of an MMO that you may be familiar with. The success of World of Warcraft both reinvigorated and doomed the MMORPG genre, as it brought in an audience so large that it ended any questions regarding the magic formula. Up until this point, MMOs were in their growing stages. The genre was as popular as my Tinder profile, and while some saw moderate success, partly due to their expense and large time commitment, there had yet to be one to find a formula popular enough to break into the mainstream. But because of this, experimentation was rampant as developers were still trying to find what did and what didn't work, and as a result, uniqueness, ironically enough, was commonplace. However, when World of Warcraft hit store shelves in November of 2004, the answer from then on was theme park at the expense of sandbox, linearity at the expense of open-endedness, and handcrafted developer-made content over player-made content. The solution was discovered, and with it came the end of experimentation, and consequently, what followed was stagnation. Lord of the Rings Online, Warhammer, good luck with the second one by the way, Age of Conan, Aeon, Star Wars The Old Republic, Final Fantasy, whatever. You level to the max through a mostly linear campaign of quests, do dungeons, after dungeons you raid, PvP, maybe cyber, and then complain on the forums that there's nothing to do until the next patch comes out. And it's pretty easy to understand why. It's because experimentation most often results in failure. MMOs are extremely expensive to develop. The ongoing support that they need is astronomical. The worlds they demand are massive. The systems are complex, as their effect largely depends on the ever-changing community. These aren't single-player games where developers can create these contained experiences to be played in a very controlled and specific way. In a Mario game, Person A is going to relatively have a similar experience to Person B, and this can be said for most any single-player game, with the exception being the more open-ended ones, such as Elder Scrolls or Elden Ring, for example.
What in oblivion is that? Yeah!
But still, most people that finish a game do so in a pretty similar and controlled fashion. However, in the world of MMOs, there are hundreds of different activities and different ways to play. Whereas one player primarily raids, another PvPs, another collects, another gathers resources, or maybe this other guy just quests, or cybers, or maybe a little bit of everything. And due to the fact that they are generally designed to be experienced with other players, an uncountable amount of variables are introduced that have drastic effects on player experience. A new player in scenario A may get into the game and happen to run into someone whom they become friends with, join their guild, become friends with them, raid with them, and before you know it, it's 20 years later, and you're about 30 pounds fatter and 50% balder. Alternatively, in scenario B, this very same player, maybe instead of meeting a friend, instead met an asshole. Maybe they only last a few weeks. The game is exactly the same, barring add-ons. When they're installed, everyone has the same files and the same interface and the same problems and the same tools with which to solve them. Yet, the experience is so drastically different, and systems that are designed to be played one way may be played in a completely different way, and as a result, designing them becomes extremely fucking complicated. So, in an effort of avoiding vagity, let's go over an example from everyone's favorite MMO. It's the third expansion, you know, the shitty one, the Cataclysm. There was a PvP island called Tolbarad, and it was an open world PvP zone much like Wintergrasp or later Trash Can, and it was designed to be a form of battleground back when the game actually had two factions. The goal was to capture a fort, and the side that won had to defend against the other side that previously lost. So, that's how it was intended to be played. But, as it turned out, because attacking was way harder, it was made to be more rewarding. Makes sense, right? Nothing could possibly go wrong with this. But, uh-oh. Carrot shiny. So what happened instead is that both factions came to a mutual understanding. Because winning through attacking was so much more lucrative, it was much more efficient for both sides to trade wins by losing intentionally when defending and avoiding a long, drawn-out battle that results in fewer rewards for everyone. Because who in their right mind plays video games just to play them, right? What are you, a casual loser? So, because of this broken system, it was very difficult to get in when your faction was attacking because, while no one is going to queue for a fruitless guaranteed loss while defending, everyone is going to queue for the fruitful guaranteed win while attacking. So because of this, the number of attackers vastly outnumbered defenders, so much so that there wasn't even enough room for them, but you could cheese it if you were technically in the zone when your side won. And that's what this madness is about before you. This was the bridge dance that people would perform when they're trying to be in the zone when their side won, while trying to avoid being teleported out due to the battle being full. And not to stick on WoW too much, pretty much this exact same scenario would also be repeated in Ilum in Star Wars The Old Republic on its release. So not only does this cost a lot of time, it also costs a lot of money, so resources are more often dedicated towards the systems that are proven to work, as opposed to the systems that might work if the players fucking behave. Which is why you get another copy-paste of the Timeless Isle with every fucking expansion. And that is why most every MMO has a simple formula of level to the max, dungeon, raid, PvP, and then pumping microtransactions through every possible orifice. Straying away from this proven financially winning formula is an enormous risk, and you need to look no further than New World as one of the most recent victims of deviating from it. And so, after like 30 minutes of monotone narration, we finally arrive to the truth that's about as depressing as my voice. If experimentation is absent, so too is innovation. And without innovation, there is no unknown, and without the unknown, there is no magic. And what you're left with is a generation that's very intimately familiar with the genre that is not going to change as safe iteration triumphs over the volatile innovation, and as a result, the player base collectively are more aware of this carrot and treadmill system more so than ever before. Regardless of all of that, always remember that the most important thing is to like this video and to subscribe to my Patreon, because I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Farewell for now, mortals. We hope you enjoyed today's video. See you again soon.